Reiki, A Healing Journey for Everyone by Preddy-Ryman. Introduction. This book has been floating around in my head for a long time. I was gardening and had my headphones on just listening to music when I started to get an idea for a book about Reiki. A book letting people know about the good Reiki can do and how it can help them. A book using real stories and that is all honest. I personally believe that Reiki is misunderstood. Therefore, people don't give it a go. And they may have heard this and that and have a biased view about Reiki, how it works and the benefits you could gain from a treatment. Reiki needs to be experienced. As we go through the book, you will be introduced to a brief section covering the history, origins, and principles. Then you will meet some beautiful souls who share their experiences with Reiki. Also included is my journey and my mother's cancer journey from my perspective. At the end, I have included 2 stories that I hope will bring a smile to your face. My wish is, and always has been, for everyone to be attuned to at least first degree Reiki. First degree is primarily for the self. When you have practice, you can then share Reiki with family, friends, and animals. Once learned, it becomes a life skill and can be used daily as a preventative for keeping the self healthy and can calm you in stressful conditions. If everyone was attuned to first degree, we would be more inclined to treat ourselves before automatically looking for something outside of ourselves to help, like popping a pill. In my experience, self-treatments daily prevents or lessens the intensity of an ailment. Then everyone can experience the benefits this beautiful natural modality has to offer. What is Reiki? Reiki is a universal life force energy. Reiki, pronounced Reiki, comes from the Japanese kanji characters Rei, meaning universal, and Ki, meaning life force energy. It is energy and we are all made up of energy. In Sanskrit, life force energy is known as prana. The Chinese call it chi. It is in every living thing. How does Reiki work? On the physical body, Reiki works with our own body's natural healing system. One of the first things Reiki does is it relaxes the nervous system. Our bodies need to be in the rest and relax parasympathetic state to promote healing. When our bodies are stressed or in a constant fight-flight, the sympathetic state, it cannot heal itself. Reiki works on rebalancing the whole body, the physical and emotional, not just the area where we might have an injury or pain. Reiki has shown that it can also help in reducing and eliminating pain in the body. Emotional body. Stress is an emotion that, if it is left untreated, can escalate to other emotional conditions like anxiety and depression. Constant emotional stress will eventually start to affect the physical body through muscle aches, headaches, sleep problems, difficulty breathing, shallow breathing, indigestion, heartburn, chest pains, high blood pressure, fatigue, panic attacks, and even stomach and digestive problems, to name a few. Reiki promotes relaxation by relaxing the nervous system, which can be very beneficial in helping people with anxiety and stress disorders. It can help calm them when situations are becoming overwhelming and are getting the better of them. Self-treatments can be done anywhere at any time, and even without other people knowing. You can visualize or sign the chakra, the power symbol, and then place your hands on yourself when you find yourself becoming overwhelmed or anxious. A little Reiki will help relax you before it escalates into a full-blown attack. You can use the seihiki, the emotional symbol, and the Honja Zijonen, the distant absent symbol, to send Reiki to past events, to our inner child, or to help with healing any traumas that may have happened. By sending Reiki to the event or inner child, it can help you to move on and not have it continually affecting your life. We cannot change the past. We can, however, prevent it from defining our future. Reiki healing can be sent remotely. It can also be sent to assist a person with exam anxiety, future events, family events, job interview, job issues, friends, or any events that may be causing you anxiety or that you want to have a good outcome. Distant Reiki can also be sent to family, friends, and animals who are too far away and are unable to receive a hands-on treatment. A brief history. Mikao Yusui was born on the 15th of August 1865 in Taniai, Yamagata district of Gifu Prefecture. As he grew older and as an avid learner, he started educating himself in spiritual healing and meditation practices. In March 1922, he went to Mount Kurama, Kyoto, where he meditated, fasted, and prayed. Each day he was becoming weaker and weaker. Early in the hours of the 21st day, whilst waiting for the sun to rise, he saw a bright light and symbols coming towards him. They entered into the top of his head at the crown. As the sun rose, he was feeling well and strong and decided to leave the mountain. On his way down, he stubbed his toe and it started to bleed. The first thing he did was put his hands on his toe, like we would naturally do. He noticed the pain and bleeding had stopped and the toe had healed. When Mikao Yusui returned home, he started using healing on his family and friends. This is how he developed his healing system to be known as Reiki. In April 1922, he moved to Tokyo, Japan. He started a clinic and healing society. This is where he gave treatments and started teaching Reiki to others. In 1923, an earthquake devastated Tokyo, where over half of the city's buildings and homes were burned down or destroyed. It is reported that over 140,000 people died. Seeing all the sick, injured, and grieving people, Mikao Yusui began treating as many as he could. As the demand for Reiki increased, his reputation as a healer spread all over Japan, and he began to travel to teach others. On the 9th of March 1926, whilst travelling to Fukuyama, he suffered a stroke and died. Since discovering Reiki in March 1922 until his death, Yusui had attuned 20 Shinran teachers and over 2,000 students. They were taught orally and no notes were taken. After Mikao Yusui's death, his students erected a memorial stone next to his grave in Suganami district of Tokyo at the Sahoji Temple. Reiki principles and degrees. First degree is primarily for the self, but you can share Reiki with family, friends, and animals by placing your hands on them. You will also learn about the Reiki principles. Just for today, do not worry. Just for today, do not anger. Honor your parents, teachers, and elders. Earn your living honestly. Show gratitude to everything. Second degree is where you are introduced to the Reiki symbols, the chakra ray, and the power symbol that transmits pure white light that can clear negativity, and it also strengthens the other symbols. The Seihiki is the emotional symbol which helps with releasing emotions and traumas. The Honja Zijonen is the distant absent symbol, and you receive the sequence for sending Reiki remotely over distance. Reiki is energy, and energy can transmute distance without any barriers. Third degree is Masters. You do not have to complete Masters for Reiki to work. Masters is a calling and a spiritual practice that is incorporated into your daily life. In Masters, you receive the Master symbol, the Daiko-Myo. You will be provided with further teachings and given the sequence to be able to attune others to Reiki. You will also be given guidance, support, and more training to help you on your journey to becoming a Reiki teacher. My Reiki journey. In April 2004, I had been attending Laura's meditation group for a few months when she suggested that I should become attuned to first degree Reiki. Reiki? I had never heard of it before. She explained that it was a hands-on healing technique that originated in Japan and that it could help myself and young family. She said she was a Reiki Master and could attune, which is the initiation process of receiving the Reiki symbols, to me for Reiki and show me how to use Reiki to help myself and family. Skeptically and also blindly, I thought, why not? I would learn anything that would help my family. The day of my first degree training, I went in not knowing what to expect. The logical brain was saying, how is this even going to work? And who am I to think I could heal with my hands? We went through the class learning about the history, the Reiki principles, and we had our attunement. Then it was time to practice Reiki on each other. We were paired up, and as soon as I put my hands on the other student, I was standing at her shoulder. I felt sick, and my hands were hot. I started to feel like I would pass out. It was horrible. I told Laura, and she said to have some water and go and stand outside on the grass, shoes off, to ground myself. A little while later, I went back inside and tried again. I found out later the student had a problem with her shoulder, and that is what I was picking up. Over the next few months, I practiced Reiki on myself and children. Then I became attuned to second degree Reiki. In second degree, you are introduced to the chakra ray, the power symbol, the seihiki, the emotional symbol, and the honja zijoinen, the absent distant healing symbol. When used in a particular sequence, Reiki can be sent to people remotely. I continued to practice Reiki and started telling my family and friends of this great modality. I was amazed with the remarks I was receiving. People dismissed it as rubbish or woo-woo, and others told me it was a different religion and was going against God, and that I would be punished. These are people who knew me, yet for their own reasons couldn't or wouldn't accept that Reiki could help them. A few even decided we could no longer be friends. With Reiki, you do not have to become a Reiki Master for it to work. Reiki works as soon as you are attuned to first degree. For those who feel called to teach others, then Masters is the next step. On February the 8th, 2005, I took my Reiki to the next level by becoming a Reiki Master. In June 2005, I was given the opportunity to travel to Japan. My former husband, Daryl, had to go for work. We asked my mother and sister, Karen, to mind the children for the week. It was the first time that I had been away from them. We flew out on the Saturday evening and arrived in Tokyo, Japan, early Sunday morning, then jumped on the bullet train down to Kyoto. Because Reiki resonated with me right from the beginning, I was excited and blessed to be able to visit where it all started. After checking into our accommodation, we decided to climb Mount Kurama. It is such a beautiful place with different temples that you can stop at on the way up. Along with its beauty, there is an air of peace and tranquility. It is a truly special place. On Monday evening, we travelled to Tokyo so Daryl could attend his meetings. And on the Wednesday, whilst Daryl was at work, the weather hit 40 degrees. It was one of the hottest days in Tokyo for the past few years. Not knowing what to do with myself, I decided to go down to reception and I asked them how could I get to the Suganami prefecture. This is the address where Mikao Yusui's memorial stone is located. After looking it up, I was told it would be 2 train rides and it was a short distance from the train station to the cemetery. Okay. Armed with the information and not speaking Japanese, I asked her to write the address and trains that I had to catch in Japanese so I could show it to someone if I got lost. Keep in mind, I didn't have a mobile phone. Before I left, I asked the receptionist to do me a favour. If I wasn't back by 6 p.m, could she please let Daryl know where I was headed in case he had to come look for me? She was the only one who knew what I was up to and where I was going. Off I went. When I arrived at the last train station, I decided to catch a train. The taxi dropped me off out the front of the cemetery in front of a wooden gate. The cemetery was surrounded by a stone wall. My first thought was, well, I didn't think this through. You see, to me, Reiki was a big part of my life. I truly resonated with it, and I had just become a Reiki Master, which opens you up to move forward on your spiritual journey. When you incorporate Reiki into every part of your life, it becomes a spiritual practice. And of course, I was in Japan where this all started. I was greeted by an elderly Japanese woman who was speaking to me in Japanese, and I must have looked like a complete idiot. I showed her my piece of paper with Mikao Yusui's name on it. She said, "Hey," and I said, "Hey." She bowed and then I bowed and we were off. The cemetery is a typical cemetery where there are graves laid out and paths. It's like a rabbit's warren, running all over the place. A little while later, she stopped, bowed, then I bowed, and she left me at the front of a gravesite. It's funny, in my mind, I had built this memorial stone out to be a monstrous monument. But Mikao Yusui was a humble man, and the students who erected his memorial stone honoured that. I stayed at Mikao Yusui's grave for quite a while, enjoying the peace and serenity, thanking him for the gift that can help so many, making promises to myself and him. When it was time to leave, I walked back to the train station, caught my 2 trains, and arrived safely at the hotel. The receptionist was still on. I waved and told her I'm back. No need to send out a search party. When Daryl came back to the room that evening, he asked, "What did you get up to today?" I said I went on an adventure. Going on that trip to Japan was very special to me, and I feel honoured that I went to Mount Kurama, Kyoto, Reiki's birthplace, and to the Suganami Temple where Mikao Yusui's memorial is. I know not every Reiki student has been or can ever make the trip. After returning home, I set up a space in my house so that I could give treatments to family and friends. Some were open to try, others not. The thing I found with a lot of people is they are unwilling or embarrassed to try new and different things if they can't see or work out how it works. With Reiki, it is best to have a treatment and experience it than trying to explain how it works. With the above in mind, I decided that if I learned a massage technique, I could incorporate the two. People would get a massage and receive the benefit of the Reiki energy at the same time. People would feel both, and it would be easier to explain because they had experienced it. I discovered I didn't like to massage people. I could tell you all the excuses. Wrists weren't strong enough. In the end, it came down to I wasn't honouring the promises I made, which was to get Reiki out there so everyone could experience and receive its benefits. It's as simple as that. I kept offering Reiki to family and friends, but I knew I wanted to branch out to help other people. Nicole. Over the years, I am amazed to learn how Reiki has played a role in my friends, clients, and students' lives. Nicole and I have been friends since 2009, and although I started her on her Reiki journey, we have our friendship and share a spiritual journey. We had to go on a couple of separate detours so that we could learn different modalities, so that we could then come back together to teach each other, adding to and expanding our gifts so that we could then share them with others. This is Nicole's story. I met Leanne in 2009 in a mother's group we used to go to called Compass. I knew her, but not like I do today. That took another year, as I believe now Spirit knew I still had healing to go, and I was not ready to hear her words. Our journey got started in the spiritual way one day at that group, when there were about 20 or so chatty women in a room. It was very noisy. I was at the entrance of the door, welcoming people and chatting with a friend. Leanne was over the other side of the room, which was at least 10 meters away. When I heard someone say to her in a very loud voice, "Were you doing your witchy poo stuff on Saturday night?" I looked around, and at that stage, and no one else had seemed to have heard it. This lady went on to say, "My chest went so hot. What were you doing?" I was amazed still that no one seemed to be hearing this. I wondered how I had heard their conversation. Later, I got up the courage to ask Leanne what they had been talking about. She explained she did Reiki. I asked, "What is that?" As I had never heard of it, and my spider senses were going off and I was tingling. She asked, why was I asking? I said, "I had heard what your friend said, and I wondered if you were a witch, as I don't think you are." I wanted to know more about this Reiki. I asked if she would be willing to give a talk at this group, as we often had guest speakers. She said, "No way, but if you would like to come to my house, I will give you a treatment." I think it was about a week later I rocked up to a home, not having a clue what I was in for, but I was excited like a little child gets. The treatment table was waiting, so I hopped up fully clothed, and she told me she would be putting her hands gently on me and to relax. She had really nice music playing. Then she put her hands on my head. My whole body tingled. I remember I could feel my heart, and the closer she got to my heart, the harder it was to breathe. I realized once she went past my soul chamber and got to my ribs, I could breathe with no problems. As the treatment progressed, it felt like elastic bands were releasing all over my body. I had not experienced anything like this before. It was quite amazing. I also got what felt like a whirlpool in my right hand and thigh. It was an amazing treatment. After that, I saw Leanne twice a week for ages. It feels like so long ago. So much has happened since then. As a child, I could hear, know, feel, and see, and I sent that all away because it made me weird. Leanne opened that back up that day. I believe Spirit made me hear that conversation so that I would ask Leanne what Reiki was, and I could be cracked open once again to move forward on my soul's journey. I did Reiki first degree with Leanne in 2010. At that stage, she was not ready to take me to second degree. Looking back on it now, that was Spirit still pushing me out of my comfort zone. I did find another Reiki Master teacher in Helen Reynolds and became a Reiki Master teacher myself. I believe that all people should be doing this healing modality on themselves or others like it. But this gift should be given to children in kindy, when they are at school, second degree as well as meditation, and then masters in high school. It is a tool that will serve them well their whole lives. Thank Spirit often that they led me to Reiki to reawaken my gifts and to put me on my soul's journey. Reiki and pulmonary embolisms. In October of 2011, we were in Hong Kong for Daryl's birthday. I was sitting on the lounge having a cuppa when all of a sudden I had a sharp pain in my chest and pins and needles in my left arm and then in my right. I joked I was having a heart attack. I automatically started doing Reiki on myself, and I asked my daughter, who is attuned to Reiki, to help. The next minute, it was gone. The pain, pins and needles, everything. It was as if nothing had ever happened. It was all over within a minute or two. I flew home to Australia the next day. The day after we got home, I went to work out with my sister. She is a personal trainer. And I couldn't quite catch my breath. You know when you take that big breath and you can feel your lungs? I put it down to the humidity and the flight. A couple of days later, I tried again, and the same thing happened. That's when I knew something wasn't quite right, so I went to the doctor. My doctor sent me for a CAT scan. I had the scan done the next day, and they advised they would call the doctor with the results. I lived 30 minutes from where the scans were done, and by the time I had driven home, they were on the phone to me. They had already called the doctor and the local hospital. Hospital was waiting for me. I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, blood clots, 1 in each lung. I was admitted to hospital and spent the night. I was not allowed off the bed and had to wear a monitor. That's the funny part. I got to the hospital and I wasn't allowed off the bed. Yet in the days leading up to being admitted, I had attempted to exercise twice and taken a 9-hour international flight, had a hot rock massage and drove around doing chores as well as driving myself to the hospital. At the hospital, they asked me how did I not know I had blood clots. And when they explained to me what the symptoms were, including the pain in the chest, I knew exactly when it had happened and what had helped me. I was put on blood thinners and had to see a specialist. I had more tests to see if it was hereditary, which it wasn't. A month later, I went for another CAT scan and the result showed no sign of any pulmonary embolisms. Kept on blood thinners for 6 months as a preventative measure. I was advised if I am travelling more than 3 hours by plane or car that I now have to self-administer an injection of blood thinners before travel as a precaution. Reiki is a part of who I am and it runs through my body. Every day I give myself a self-treatment and bring my body back into balance using Reiki. You could say I am using it as a preventative. Does that mean I will never become sick? No. That is something that can still happen. But doing regular self-treatments keeps my body healthy so that when something does happen, I can work through it and recover more quickly. Reiki and cancer, my mum's story. 2010, my journey with mum and cancer. In January 2010, Laura, my Reiki Master, suggested I buy an ion spa foot detox machine. It is a machine that uses negative ions and an electrical array to draw the toxins out of the body through the feet. It targets the lymphatic system, liver, kidneys and joints. Laura had been using it for a while and I had even had a couple of treatments and was impressed with the results. I spoke to Laura and said I couldn't afford to buy one so close after Christmas. We came to an arrangement and I got one. When my machine arrived, I gave all of my family a treatment. The day after, Mum said she felt funny. I asked, "Did you drink enough water after the treatment?" She answered, "Yes." I said, "Let's keep an eye on how you feel in the next couple of days." With a detox, you usually wait a week and then you can have another treatment for a total of no more than 6. The following week, Mum was feeling better and I asked if she wanted another treatment. She said yes, so I gave her a treatment on the Sunday. By the Tuesday, she was in hospital with severe stomach pain. The doctor said it was a suspected appendicitis and they were going to operate. The detox had irritated the appendix, causing the pain and sending her to hospital. I felt like shit because I had done this to her. When the surgeon operated, he found that Mum had stage 4 bowel cancer and the cancer had grown through the lining of the bowel and attached to her appendix. Mum always had regular colonoscopies and checkups, the last one being less than 18 months earlier, and everything was clear. I couldn't believe this was happening. Mum went through chemotherapy. It was tough. She had so many side effects. She battled through. She was determined to win the battle. I would send Reiki all the time and give her a treatment whenever she asked, especially for the pain. Went on for most of 2010. One day whilst I was waiting with Mum during her chemo treatment, I picked up a brochure from Cancer Council New South Wales, Massaging Cancer, an introduction to the benefits of touch therapies for people with cancer. Reiki was listed in it. I was impressed that it was being recognised. Usually it is dismissed as woo-woo. After her last chemo treatment, Mum got the all clear in November 2010. She had to keep up with her blood tests to monitor her levels, but everything was looking good. In February 2011, after a checkup, they discovered it was back. After some deliberation, they decided to try another type of treatment and sent us off to a specialist who was the only one who did this type of treatment in New South Wales. The procedure is called a peritonectomy or a cytoreductive surgery. This is where they cut you open from sternum to stomach and then pour hypothermic intraperitoneal chemotherapy, which is hot-warm chemotherapy, into the peritoneal bowel lining to kill the cancer cells. We were told all the steps and markers for the surgery and after. The operation takes approximately 8 to 14 hours, a stay in the ICU for at least 3 days, 2 nights, a ward stay for at least 3 weeks or longer, and she may need a stomal or a colonoscopy bag. Have fatigue for about 2 to 3 months post-op, and there was a 30 to 40% chance of major complications. Armed with all this information about the operation and risks, knowing Reiki could help, Mum asked me to attune her to first-degree Reiki before she had the surgery, which I did. Mum had the operation in late March 2011. Mum only spent 24 hours in ICU and was then moved to the ward. She didn't need a stomal or colonoscopy bag. She was doing well. She then developed a problem with her kidney and the drain site. She stayed in the ward for the next 3 weeks. Mum was feeling good and was happy in herself. All she wanted to do was go home. She continued to give herself self-treatments, and I would send distant healing and give her a hands-on treatment when I visited. I knew the Reiki was helping with her recovery. Once again, we were given the all clear and was monitoring her bloods. In January 2012, I decided to open a Reiki practice in one of the shops in our small town. I wanted a space where people could come and experience Reiki, be it via treatment or teaching, as well as learn meditation and wellness techniques that could help them. Mum helped me with setting up the shop and was proud when I opened Jasmine Sky Wellness Centre's doors on the 13th of February 2012. Mum was feeling good. She went for her regular checkup and was then referred for a PET scan. On the 14th of March 2012, her 67th birthday, she was told the cancer was back. What the fuck? No, not again. But it's her birthday, was all that went through my mind. The doctor wanted her to stay in hospital. There was no way she was going to spend her birthday in hospital after receiving that news. I said, "It's a birthday," and asked the doctor if they were going to do anything that day. She said no, so I got her discharged, took her home, and then all the family went to the kiosk at Stanwell Park to process and be with her on her birthday. Mum, the champion she was, went the chemotherapy route again, but after the first course, it was making her even sicker, and the side effects were heightened. She decided to stop her chemo treatments. We upped the Reiki treatments, especially when the pain was bad. She didn't like to take the pain medication as it wiped her out and made her feel groggy. Over Mum's cancer journey, I was reading and researching everything that I could with regards to holistic therapies for beating cancer. Anita Morjani had just published her book, Dying to Be Me. It was her story on her near-death experience and how she beat cancer and death. I was inspired by her experience. I even gave the book to Mum to read and said not to give up. We tried everything I had read, and I had convinced myself that if Western medicine wasn't getting rid of the cancer, Reiki and holistic therapies would. We kept up and increased our Reiki treatments. We did release work, looked at foods, all different things to help her beat her cancer. We never gave up hope that she wouldn't beat the cancer, even when she was admitted to hospital because she had an obstruction of the bowel and was vomiting fecal matter. The lady doctor on admission said to me, "Your mother has an obstruction, and if they couldn't clear it to prepare myself because you do know she has stage 4 bowel cancer." I didn't have to voice my response. I looked at her with one eyebrow raised. My face must have said it all. On the inside, I was screaming, "No shit, Sherlock, and you don't know my mother." Unfortunately, Mum lost her battle to cancer and passed on Tuesday, the 21st of August. She fought one hell of a battle. Standing at her bedside with my brother and sister, we watched as she passed. We were devastated, and yet just outside her hospital door, we could hear people laughing and talking as they walked by, getting on with their day. It really hit home that whatever you are experiencing, life still goes on. Going through the grief process, I became so angry. Angry with cancer and what a cruel disease it is. Angry with my mum for leaving. Angry with myself for failing to save her. And angry with Reiki. Why was I given this skill and everything else that I know that can help people with their health? And yet I still couldn't save her. I seriously considered giving up the centre and Reiki. My rationale was, if I couldn't save the one I loved, why even bother helping others? I truly battled with this. Add in the fact that some ignorant people were talking in town and had named me as the witch in the arcade and all sorts of stuff. People wouldn't come into the shop because they thought Reiki was some sort of witchcraft and was running the centre down. Truly, the way I was feeling, if I was a witch, then they would have all been turned into toads. I understand Reiki isn't for everyone and people are entitled to their opinions, but the ignorance, accusations and gossip were just plain hurtful. Why did I decide to keep the centre open after everything I went through that first year? Because Reiki does work and can help change people's lives. When I look at Mum's Reiki experience, do I think it helped her? With a clear head, I can honestly say it did. With her pain relief, nauseous, chemotherapy side effects, and her general happiness in herself, that helped in her battle. Did it save her? Unfortunately, no. And that was the result I so badly wanted. Rationally, I know this was her journey and I was a part of it, but it still hurt like hell. At the end of the day, I was given these skills to share with others so that they can help themselves. It isn't up to me to keep them to myself. That is part of my journey. Mr. K. Mr. K knocked on my shop window the day I opened. He waved and walked on. A week later, he popped in and told me he knew what Reiki was. We chatted and he made an appointment to come in and have a treatment the next day. On Thursday, the 23rd of February 2012, he came in for his first appointment. He brought with him a book he had on Reiki by Charmaine Windsor. Mr. K was 94 years old when he started coming for his weekly Reiki treatments. He couldn't get up on the massage table, so we would use the futon I had on the shop. He would book an hour time slot where he would have his treatment and a chat. He told me he was a prisoner of war, but didn't hate the Japanese and had travelled to Japan a couple of times. He believed in Reiki and could see the benefits and results in his treatments. He would tell me that he would tell everyone in the town who would listen to him that he had regular Reiki treatments and that they should come and have a treatment. Although Mr. K had some medical issues, he was still able to live by himself and was very mobile with his scooter. Mr. K came to his weekly appointments until he was 99 years old and 3 months. I heard he passed away on his 100th birthday. If I had chosen to close the shop, I would never have met Mr. K. Karen. My sister Karen started having fortnightly Reiki treatments in December 2014. Then, on the 8th of January 2015, started with twice weekly treatments. Although she was attuned to first-degree Reiki, she was trying to have another child. She was 43 years old. Karen had experienced a lot of heartache in the previous 2 years with the loss of our mum and multiple miscarriages. She came because she was carrying a lot of anger and hurt. She was taking hormone therapy and other holistic therapies trying to conceive. We thought we would add Reiki to the mix. During our sessions, Karen could feel the Reiki energy as heat in her physical body, where she was having pain or had an injury. I would work on her whole body, especially her stomach area, where I would visualize strengthening the uterus. Karen had more miscarriages, losing 7 babies in total, and it was taking a toll emotionally as well as physically. She stopped the hormone and holistic therapies altogether in June 2015. She also took a break from Reiki for June and July. Karen returned to her twice weekly Reiki appointments in August. The more treatments she had, the more results we saw, not just in the physical body, but also the emotional. I remember one particular treatment when the dam burst. I could feel it welling up inside of her. All the emotions that had been suppressed, trying to be brave for everyone, yet her heart was breaking. Then I felt and saw the release. She finally let it go and laid there bawling her eyes out. After, it was like she was lighter all over. Karen fell pregnant in the later part of 2015. It was so special to experience the pregnancy with her from a Reiki perspective. I could feel the baby's movements when I had my hands on her stomach. At the beginning of a treatment, the baby would be very active and then relax. Karen gave birth to a beautiful boy named Bo in May 2016. She was just shy of her 45th birthday and had a natural labour lasting 2 hours. Bo. Where Mr. K was my oldest in May 2016 at the age of 98, Bo was my youngest, having his first solo Reiki treatment at 8 days old. Karen would bring Bo in weekly for a treatment and he loved it. He would start off wriggling and then he would fall asleep. He would sleep soundly for a few hours after he had his treatment. I found that when I babysat him and I would be rocking him to sleep, he would hold on tightly to my shirt and his little fist clenched so that when I moved he would wake up. You see, he could feel the Reiki energy that was coming from me, yet he was too young to label it. He just accepted what he could feel. Reiki was something that he experienced in the womb and now it was just a part of his life. Bo kept coming for a few months. I still send Reiki distantly to him daily. Melissa. Melissa has been coming for monthly treatment since May 2013. She has also attended a few of my workshops over the years. Melissa's story. My experience with Reiki started 17 years ago in 2006 on a holiday at a Thailand spa retreat. I was in the very early stages of my first pregnancy, had a hectic corporate job, and was in desperate need of some work-life balance. My first Reiki treatment was something I will never forget. Laying down on that table and experiencing a sense of calm overtaking my body. I was so moved and emotional as I felt the movements of my baby for the first time. It is very difficult to describe what I could feel. Every layer of my body at that time, I could feel each layer individually. My baby moving around in the amniotic fluid, the swishing little flutters and total awareness of this human being, growing and moving around inside me. From that moment on, I knew this was something special. Returning to Australia, Reiki wasn't at that time widely available, so it took a little while to find another Reiki Master, until one day in May 2013, I discovered Jasmine Sky Wellness Centre and Leanne. I haven't looked back. I enjoy regular monthly treatments and have had a number of physical and emotional experiences and responses that constantly reaffirm my belief in the treatment. I have had powerful surges of energy as my back or hips release tension, feeling zapped out of my body like an internal lightning bolt. I have introduced my children to the power of Reiki and encouraged my family and friends to give it a try. It has helped me manage and overcome anxiety and panic, and it's a tool I use to maintain my mental health. I highly recommend it to everyone. Susan approached me in May 2013 and asked if I would be interested in starting a meditation course for her and a friend. Susan was looking for something. She had tried Bible study group and a couple of other things. I said yes, and that is how the affectionately named Meditation Girls came about. Susan has been coming weekly during the school term for over 10 years. Over the years, I have introduced her to many new modalities that can be added to her life tools and be used when needed. Reiki was one of them. Susan's story. I had never heard of Reiki. I had no idea what it was. I was taking a high dose of antidepressants, expecting to miraculously snap out of my depression and loss of self. Unbeknown to me at the time, the drugs were never going to fix me. They only allowed me to minimally function each day, sometimes not even that, and had side effects which then caused other issues. I was numb, not looking forward. I was lucky. A friend could see I needed help and not just more drugs to dull the pain. She suggested a few different therapies, and I found that meditation helped a little. Then she told me about Reiki. I was very skeptical, but gave it a go. It couldn't hurt. After having a few treatments, I did begin to feel a bit more in touch with the world, not so lost in that deep depression. I continued with Reiki. Then, when I was ready, and only when I was ready, I became attuned to first-degree Reiki and started practicing on myself. I began to feel the occasional glimmer of hope. Years later, I am attuned to second-degree Reiki, and the healing I feel when practicing Reiki on myself or giving Reiki to another is immense. Over the past 15 years, I have tried to come off antidepressants, but these attempts have not been successful, physically or emotionally. I may never be drug-free, but I am now on a minimum dose and continue to practice Reiki. It has allowed me to focus, remain calm, and heal my emotional self. Teresa first started coming in 2013. She started upping her treatments to monthly in late 2019. I first met Teresa when she attended one of my manifestation workshops with her daughter. She had a few iron spa foot detoxes with me before trying Reiki, as she was a little skeptical about having a treatment. Teresa's story. I first tried Reiki on the 24th of October 2013 after attending a manifestation course with Leanne. I had my first treatment, and yes, I was skeptical at how it worked. I have always felt spiritual, but because I didn't understand Reiki, and honestly still don't fully comprehend how it all works now, but I know it helps me. My first session was odd, to be honest. I felt like I had floated away out of my body. I was relaxed but didn't feel anything. I tried it again because I was having a lot of health issues, so I gave it another go. Leanne didn't know my issues. She just knew that I had not been well. I felt warmth, then heat in different parts of my body. I have since felt and had many different experiences during my sessions. Initially, I had them 2 weeks apart in the beginning. During my treatments, I can only describe it as having had blasts of pins and needles or explosions. The sensations was like pockets bursting inside me, but wasn't painful. My body has felt like it was rocking or swaying, yet I was not being touched. I have felt warm to hot spots in different places. Sometimes it feels like I am riding a wave, feeling like I am being pulled out of the top of my head, then energy pushing through my feet. It is quite odd at times. It can bring my emotions out, but after my treatments, I feel calm and I believe it has helped my health immensely. I had a virus which actually left me with major issues with my kidneys not functioning properly. My bloods were not good. I don't take any medications, and the doctor sent me to 2 different specialists for further investigation. That's when Reiki helped me the most. After every treatment, I felt stronger. I know drinking water alone was not the reason my kidneys improved the way they did. The specialist couldn't find a reason why my kidneys flared up like they did, or how fast the blood levels went back to the way they did. I put my recovery down to the Reiki treatments I was receiving. I will keep going at least every month for a treatment to maintain the way I feel. I don't sleep well, but after a session, I always feel calm, relaxed, and refreshed. During COVID, I couldn't go and I missed it. I realized the benefits I get from going. Fran. I met Fran in 2014 when her brother Peter was visiting her. Peter had been attuned to Reiki and was the one to encourage Fran to give it a try because of her health issue. He knew the benefits Reiki could provide. Fran's story. My journey with Reiki began very serendipitously over 8.5 years ago. I was in a craft shop with my brother who was visiting me. After a little time, he noticed the shop front opposite. He decided to investigate. It turns out to be the clinic of Reiki Master Leanne. After chatting to her, he returned to me exclaiming, "That lady is a Reiki therapist. You should talk to her." Believing she could help me, he had been attuned formally and had faith in Reiki and its ability to heal. My story. I am in my 80s and was diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy over 7 years ago, although my symptoms had begun years before. I was now starting to feel more advanced symptoms and had declined the medication offered. The physical effects of peripheral neuropathy: 1. Numbness in feet, lower legs, fingers and hands. 2. Muscle weakness in the hands and in the lower legs. Over time, walking becomes difficult. 3. It is progressive and can affect other organs affected by the peripheral nervous system. This is general and each person can be affected differently. I started weekly treatments not as a cure, but to be a complementary support treatment, mainly to calm my nervous system. At first, my treatments didn't really change much from my perspective, never having experienced Reiki before. After 10 years, I can say it definitely works on me. When in the care of Leanne, I feel safe and cocooned away from the world. As treatment comes to an end, and to feel my dead old legs become filled with energy, and it is wonderful. I put faith in the healing benefit of touch. Jesus and his disciples did just that. I believe in God and his gift of faith to us to heal one another through his Spirit. With loving intent, the therapist can bring healing, not always cure, but health for mind and spirit. Leanne invited me to be attuned to first degree Reiki, which I received with humble thanks on the 8th of February 2016. A beautiful candlelit ceremony together with my book of Reiki This would encourage me to use at home. In 2024, at 84 years of age, I continue my almost weekly treatment. There is no cure for my condition, but her skill, compassion, and love keep me returning. Marcia. Marcia and I have known each other since 2008 through our children's sport. I remember talking to Marcia about what I do, and I think I freaked her out a bit. But like I said, you need to experience Reiki. Below is her recount on her first treatment, and I am glad to say she still has Reiki treatments when needed. Marcia's story. I had my first Reiki treatment years ago, and I had no idea what I was in for. I had some friends telling me it was voodoo, but I didn't care what they were saying and gave Reiki a go, as I had hurt myself and Leanne told me that I should see her for a treatment. I was lying on the massage table for my first ever treatment, and I am not too sure how to best describe what I felt, but here goes. Once Leanne started the Reiki treatment, I felt like the table was moving and that I was starting to feel warm on parts of my body, where I had an injury and soreness. I was feeling weird sensations all over my body, which is hard to describe, and I'm not sure people would believe me if I told them. Since my first treatment, I have had many more over the years, as every treatment helps me with any injuries or illness. Also, it helps me to hit the reset button. I would recommend Reiki to anyone. My advice is, if you are unsure, to just give it a go. It has many benefits for your body and soul, more than you think. Alan and I have known each other for years. It started with our children and sport. Since then, our families have become firm friends, but that couldn't even convince him to have a treatment when he injured himself. Alan's story. When I first heard of Reiki, I was unsure what it was or how it worked. When someone tried to explain it, that it was a form of energy healing with minimal to no contact kind of treatment, my first thoughts were that it was hocus pocus, witchcraft, or even magic. When I injured my shoulder and recovery was taking too long using physiotherapy, my wife advised me to make an appointment with Leanne. However, the skeptic in me kept from making an appointment. It wasn't until we were holidaying with Leanne and her family, Christmas 2013, that she convinced me to be a man and have a treatment after aggravating my shoulder while swimming at the beach. I was feeling nervous and still not sure what to expect. I laid on the floor with cushions under me, and Leanne started with my first ever treatment. After a few moments, I started to feel as if the floor below me was moving in a swaying motion, and when Leanne was touching my sore shoulder, it felt like it was starting to catch fire due to the heat I was feeling, not to mention the muscles pulsating. By the end of the treatment, I was still unsure as to whether Reiki works, until Leanne asked me to sit up. It was then, when I had a glass of water, that she began asking me when I had injured my ankles, knee, and how long I had pain in my lower back. That I began to believe that Reiki indeed works and is not some kind of hocus pocus, as I never mentioned any other problems I had with my body. I have since had many Reiki treatments and would definitely recommend Reiki to anyone that asks me if it worked. You will never know unless you are willing to try. Nikki. I first met Nikki back in August 2015. Nikki came in to see me because 8 months before she had fractured her knee and it still wasn't 100%. She was still experiencing pain and having regular physiotherapist appointments. Nikki's story. Christmas Eve 2014 saw me in hospital with a knee fracture. After 2 weeks at the review with the specialist, we discovered the pin in my knee had slipped. So I had to have a second operation to insert more wire into my knee with strict instructions of no knee bending, and I had to wear a splint for 6 weeks. Then it was off to physio. It was after one of my physio sessions that I spotted Jasmine Sky Wellness Centre. I thought Reiki might be the go, as I couldn't have massages, and my mum always enjoyed having Reiki treatments. Leanne and I hit it off straight away. I had a treatment and was impressed that she had picked up on my other aches and pains apart from my obvious knee injury. I do feel tingling hot spots, as others have mentioned, but really I'm another bow and tend to go to sleep. So our standing joke is that I have come to Leanne so she can put me to sleep and then she can take a break and enjoy a cup of tea. Although what I originally went for was relief from my knee pain, what I found was the psoriatic arthritis, the PCA pain in my feet, which was constant, and the osteoarthritis pain in my hands had gone. Yahoo! So I am a happy veggie. Louise and I met in 2016 when I wanted to become a board member of Reiki Australia. I had no previous board experience. Louise is a Reiki Master teacher who lives in the Illawarra area. Louise has board experience and was asked if we could work together to show me what was expected. We met for lunch and hit it off. In November of 2016, we were appointed as board members to Reiki Australia. Unfortunately, soon after, Louise was diagnosed with breast cancer and resigned from her position. We stayed in touch, and in January 2017, Louise advised she would be starting chemotherapy in the February. She asked would I be interested in being a part of her chemotherapy journey by sending absent distant Reiki daily for 3 months and visiting once a week for hands-on treatment. I told her of course I would. Every day I would send her Reiki from 6 a.m. to 6:20 a.m. and on a Friday I would travel to her place and give her a 1-hour hands-on treatment. We decided to document it from both our perspectives to see if what I picked up when sending Reiki correlated to what Louise experienced. In 2024, Louise is healthy and cancer-free. Louise's story. During my 3 months of chemotherapy for breast cancer, I received daily distant Reiki and weekly hands-on Reiki from Leanne. My experience of chemotherapy was physically very demanding, as I experienced most of the long list of side effects. Both the distance and hands-on Reiki helped me to cope and continue to the end of treatment. Despite the physical demands, Leanne's distant Reiki helped me to stay balanced, at peace, and positive. I was able to feel loved and supported, and this helped me to be with rather than fight against my physical symptoms. I am convinced that the regular Reiki throughout the treatments also helped me to detox quickly after the chemotherapy ended, restoring my physical health and well-being. I would highly recommend Reiki, either hands-on or distance, for anyone experiencing physical illness or emotional or soulful distress. Angela first got in contact with me back in 2018. She was interested in doing Reiki second degree. She had completed Reiki first degree in the August with another master. Angela is a practicing medium, and when she was attuned to first degree, her sensitivity and gifts were heightened, and she started to get overwhelmed. Her anxiety at times was through the roof. She was also having trouble in crowds. Angela booked in to do her second degree training in November 2018, but because of her anxiety, she pushed her training back to February 2019. We stayed in touch and then had to change her training a couple more times. This is what happens if you're not ready. You will come up against blocks, and when the time is right, it will all fall into place. Angela completed her second degree training in August 2019, a full 10 months after her first inquiry. Angela's story. I have sent Reiki to family and friends to help them with pain and trauma. I have also done Reiki on my husband to help him when he was feeling unwell and to help him with relaxing. He said that it helps him feel calm. I have also done it on my children, which helped them to relax, particularly my oldest child, to help with his anxiety and to help him stay in one place. He replied, "It feels warm, Mum." Reiki also helps when I go into anxiety attacks and panic attacks. Being so open to the spirit realm, it can be quite hard to stop high energies affecting me. I find that Reiki helps me relax in these times. In 2021, I used Reiki on myself when I was pregnant and going through pre-eclampsia, a serious pregnancy complication characterized by the onset of high blood pressure and protein in the urine. At the time, I was also having anxiety and panic attacks because I really thought I wasn't going to stay on this earth. I would do small amounts of Reiki, which really helped and pulled me through, especially with helping me to feel more positive. I continue to use Reiki on my children, husband, and myself, especially at 2 a.m. in the morning when we are trying to relax and get back to sleep after feeding our daughter. Reiki started off just being for myself, family, and friends, but I have now included it into my business as a therapy I offer to others. Sharon and I have been friends since late 2002, when our children started surf life-saving nippers together. Sharon has had Reiki treatments off and on over the years, and has also introduced her children to Reiki through the combination of massage and Reiki. Sharon is actually the person who I was talking to when Nicole heard the conversation that she wrote about in her story. Sharon's story. Back in July 2018, with a few health issues, Leanne recommended I be attuned to first-degree Reiki. I didn't do much with it. I found it difficult to stop for long enough and too impatient to regularly conduct self-healing sessions. This last year, however, I have found more instances where I sign the chakra ray. I still don't stop to self-heal, but find moments in the day or night to quietly sign. I don't always remember to bring the tool to surface, but when I do, I have a moment of calm and am able to breathe deeper. I find the action as something positive and a step to take, to move on or through a moment of pain. Karen L. Karen and I first met when she was a guest speaker at our women's group. She asked us did we think we had a book in us waiting to be written. I laughed because that was so far out of my league. A few months later, she attended one of my workshops. A month later, I had signed up to her weekly writing workshops. This is where I wrote my first book, Why Not? And then my intuitive guidance cards. It took Karen another 7 years before she had a Reiki treatment with me. I believe that people come to Reiki when they are ready, be it for a healing or to start their spiritual journey. Karen's story. It was a Monday morning from memory. It was only the second Reiki session I'd ever had. Towards the end of the session, I had the sense that my whole body had softened, particularly my hair. It seemed that my hair texture was now just like the softest cat fur in the world. As a cat lover, this made me smile. I almost purred. As my body softened, I felt a rise and swirl of energy. I started to feel strong, powerful, and safe. I remember feeling that I'd never felt this strong before. I also remember thinking that I could now deal with anything. It was an amazing experience. I left the session feeling centered, optimistic, and bulletproof. When I arrived home later in the morning to my nearby village of Otford, I completed the usual array of tasks. In the afternoon, there was a knock at the door. It was my landlord who lived next door. He gently explained that unfortunately he needed to ask me to leave because he needed the house for his sick mother-in-law. I always knew that my cat and I would eventually be asked to leave the granny flat to make way for the real granny. I just never thought that day would come so soon. I politely thanked him for giving me 3 months' notice. I closed the door and sank to the floor. Only hours earlier, I had left my Reiki treatment feeling I could tackle anything, and now here I was crumpled on the carpet. I didn't want to move house, but I had no choice. A quick look at the real estate website showed there were no affordable, pet-friendly rentals in the local area. I didn't want to leave the area either, but it was looking like I had no choice in that too. How could my world so quickly change from feeling like I was in a powerful, safe and strong position to feeling such fear and uncertainty? I told myself it can't be a coincidence that I have a Reiki treatment in the morning, which helps me find my stronger self, and here I am 4 hours later in a very different state. What do I make of this? It took me a while, but I got up off the floor with an awareness that this was all meant to be. The time to leave my beloved home in my beloved village was now. No, it wasn't the time of my choosing, but I needed to trust that I had begun that supreme feeling of strength for a reason. I needed to trust that whatever I needed to do to make this move happen, I would be able to do it. With the help of friends, my affordable pet-friendly rental was finally found in Orient Point, a coastal village an hour and a half away on the south coast of New South Wales. The move required me to purchase a second-hand car. I hadn't driven a car since I'd moved to New South Wales 16 years prior. I'm still not a confident driver, but in the past 2 years I have completed 2 solo trips to outback New South Wales. However, in leaving a place I never thought I'd want to leave, Otford, my world has opened up in ways I never thought I would want them to open. Life is strange, isn't it? But I do know one thing. I know that Leanne's Reiki treatment that Monday morning allowed me to feel bulletproof. And despite hearing the bad news of that afternoon, her treatment left me feeling that things might be happening for reasons beyond my understanding. It left me feeling that I had been given the strength to cope, and I would cope no matter what, and I did. We have heard throughout the book that Reiki works differently on everyone. The one thing that is constant is that they all got what they needed at the time and came across Reiki when it was needed, be it for a physical or an emotional ailment, or to start them or restart them on their spiritual journey. I wanted to finish the book off on a lighter note. My Reiki journey has been so many things to me. I've been challenged in ways that have made me question the path that I am on, and also Reiki itself. It has strengthened me to overlook the name callers and still hold a safe space for the people who need to be here. I have met some wonderful souls and been a part of their journey, which I would never have had the opportunity had it not been for Reiki. I get to work, share and reap the benefits of this beautiful modality every day. I am truly honoured to be on this path. As promised, I would like to share 2 light and amusing stories. Mind Body Spirit Festival 2013 and PDHPE Assignment 2014 to finish. Mind Body Spirit Festival 2013. On the 31st of October 2013, I took the meditation girls to the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival in Sydney. It was their first time. If you have ever been to one, you would know the energy can be quite overwhelming, especially for your first time. We walked around and looked at all the stalls, tried their samples, purchased some items, then decided to watch a group on the main stage. The group were actually talking about Reiki and its benefits. There were a few people on the stage who were about to give a demonstration. They started to play some background music. You had the people who were about to receive the Reiki sitting on chairs, and the Reiki practitioners were standing behind them. If you have ever seen a Reiki treatment, there really isn't a lot to see. When I give a treatment after the dry brushing and the signing of the symbols, I am basically just resting my hands or have my hands hovering over the client. The girls had only been introduced to Reiki about 6 months earlier and had only received a couple of treatments. The next minute, one of the lady practitioners started swaying and waving one of her arms about quite frantically, honestly, and it was raised above her head. The other was on the recipient, and she was really getting into the music. The girls looked at me with a horrified expression, their eyes huge and mouth open. Before they could ask, I said, "No, that is not what I do when you are lying on my massage table." We all started laughing. Reiki is Reiki, and I don't feel it needs to be embellished by adding dramatics. But who knows? Everyone is different, and that may have been the way she was taught, or it could have been her personality. To be honest, it would be hard getting up on stage and showing the benefits of Reiki through a treatment demonstration. We had a great day. This demonstration didn't put the girls off because they are now both attuned to 1st and 2nd degree Reiki. PDHPE assignment. In 2014, my son was in Year 10, and for his PDHPE subject, he had to experience and research a complementary therapy and then write an assignment on it. The list had massage and Reiki on it. I got really excited when he showed me because I was trained in both. I said, "Did you tell your teacher your mum's a Reiki master?" "No," was his reply. "Okay, why not?" I asked. "Because I'm not going to do the assignment on Reiki." "Why not?" "Just leave it," he said. "No, I'm not paying for you to go to someone else when I can give you the treatment for your assignment." A week later, he told me what was really behind it. He told me his teacher told them not to get a Reiki treatment because it was crap. His teacher was new to the school. He was young and not into holistic therapies. He told the class what happened during his treatment. He started with, "The lady I went to asked me to lay down on the massage table. Then she was burning something and it was smoking. She went around my body and said it was to clear my aura." I explained to my son, "I think she must have been smudging him. Then she was flapping her arms about all over me. I assumed she was doing Ken Yokoho, the dry brushing, sweeping hands across the body to remove negative energy. Then she placed rocks on me." Okay, she was using crystals and placing them on his chakras. "She started to play some music, then she started singing." My guess is she might have been chanting or liked the music. "Then she put her hands on me." Hand placements are part of the treatment. "Then when it was over, she told me my chakras were blocked." Chakras are the energy centers in the body. When my son was telling me his teacher's story in the way his teacher had told the class, I was laughing so hard because I could understand the teacher's reaction to all the goings-on during his first Reiki treatment, especially not knowing what it all meant, and plus, he had his eyes closed. Not all Reiki treatments are like the above. I can understand my son's hesitancy to tell his teacher that his mum was a Reiki master, and that was what I did for a living. Bless. My son wrote his assignment on Reiki. There was no mention of the name of the person, me, who gave him the treatment. I was to remain anonymous, only referred to as the woman or she. I am proud to announce he got good marks for that assignment. Gratitude. Thank you so much for taking the time to listening to my book, for giving me a chance to introduce you to Reiki, to break down any misinformation you may have heard or read about this beautiful modality through relaying our story and experiences. Reiki isn't scary and doesn't have to be a theatrical experience for it to work. Once experienced, even though you may not be able to verbally explain how it works, you will know that it indeed does work. Thank you to the beautiful souls Nicole, Karen, Melissa, Susan, Teresa, Fran, Marcia, Alan, Nikki, Louise, Angela, Sharon, and Karen L., who shared their Reiki journey with us. I am honoured to have been and still are a part of their Reiki journeys. To those of you who would like to start your own journey with Reiki, I ask you to do your research as to whom you would like to be a part of your journey. Look up Reiki practitioners in your local area or maybe at a Reiki association. Please remember, when receiving a Reiki treatment, you are fully dressed except for your shoes. There is never a need to be naked. If you are thinking of doing your first degree training, please find a master teacher you feel comfortable with. Ask questions. What is their Reiki journey? Do they know their lineage? How long have they been practicing Reiki? How long have they been a master teacher? Ask, can you see their certificates? What do you receive with their training? Are they part of an association? Trust your intuition. What is that telling you? Do you feel comfortable with them? If you are looking to become a practitioner yourself and are going to start receiving paying clients, I would advise after completing your studies that you join a Reiki association and get insurance. Please note, some associations do not recognize absent distant attunements and studies. They only recognize face-to-face learning and being attuned in person. Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, you can like and subscribe to my channel.